recording an episode of my podcast, which I will link in the description below, and something regarding the crime scene and Xana occurred to me. Now, in this podcast, just like my previous video, I'm talking about the concept of targets and how a victim assesses the target and how a law enforcement assesses the target. And I talk specifically about the fact that this crime was initially considered an isolated, targeted attack. And in the previous video and in this podcast, I go into detail about why law enforcement might have considered this an isolated incident and why they might have lifted that stay-in-place order or the shelter-in-place order. Because we know that vandal alert came out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the shelter-in-place was lifted a few hours later. Now, I go into all the reasons why I think this was considered an isolated attack in the podcast. But while I was doing that, I was talking about how the suspect, whoever the suspect was, didn't just leave, right? Because when he came down those stairs, the kitchen was just feet away, and so was the exit. Why didn't he just leave? And many people think, well, that's because Xana saw him. Okay, but here's why I don't think that's the case. We hear in the PCA that Dylan heard someone say someone's here. And she looks out her door, but she doesn't see anybody. Now, there's only two things that would have occurred for somebody to say someone's here. Now, it wouldn't be the DoorDash arriving because Xana's the one who ordered it. So she'd be expecting it. So she wouldn't say someone's here because the order was for her. And it wouldn't just be people rustling around upstairs, right? People just walking around upstairs because she knew people were upstairs at the time. So there's only two things that could have occurred to make someone say, someone's here. And say it in a way that gave the impression, according to the PCA, that somebody was in the house. And those two things are that the slider door was open or that Murphy was barking. And it sounds like, from what we know, that Murphy was barking, right? Because we know Dylan said she woke up and she heard what she thought was Kaylee playing with her dog. Well, if she just heard someone running back and forth upstairs, why would she think that's Kaylee playing with her dog? She must have heard barking, right? And it makes sense that if a suspect went upstairs and he's unfamiliar, dogs' sense of smell it's insane. And they can pick up, that's why they make such great companions and like service dogs, because they can smell and sense the slightest change in body chemistry. So if someone's, is afraid, certain things are being produced in your body, certain chemicals that are going to come out in your pores. Dogs can sense it. That's why they say dogs can sense fear. It's not that they can sense it, it's that they can smell it. So he had to have been hearing and smelling all kinds of things. So the dog had to have been going crazy at the time, barking quite a bit. Now, Dylan looks outside the door. In the PCA, it says she hears someone say someone's here and looks outside, but she doesn't see anybody. If it was Xana, right? If it was Xana saying it, and it was because she saw the door open, don't you think that would mean Xana would be in close proximity to Dylan's room, and therefore Dylan would have seen her? So if she wasn't there, where was she? Now, to be fair, we don't know that she wasn't there. We're just going by the PCA. I'm inferring from what I'm reading that she was not there, which makes me think that by the time Dylan looked out her door, Xana was already back in her room. Now, could she have come out a second time? Absolutely. Sure. But here's what I really don't understand. So he attacks Kaylee and Maddie, and he hears someone downstairs. Don't you think that if someone heard somebody downstairs, they wouldn't go in the direction of the noise, that they might just stay where they are? why didn't he just stay in Kaylee and Maddie's room and wait for the house to go still? Especially if the dog was barking. Why would he leave the room? And why, you know, I know a lot of people think Xana must have seen him and that's why he went after Xana. I want people to try and think of this, picture this. He comes downstairs and Xana's in the kitchen. Why wouldn't he just attack her there? Or let's say she's in the hall. Why wouldn't he just attack her there? Why would he take her to her bedroom when he could just eliminate the threat that's right in front of him right in that moment? And number two, how did he know to take her back there? Because of course, you know, if he did run into her, he would probably, did he ask her, like, take me to your bedroom? Maybe, but remember, Ethan's there. So she sees this man with this knife and this mask. Do you think she's going to take him back to that room where the love of her life is? I don't think she would. What we know of Xana was that she was incredibly spirited, that she was incredibly strong. And I'm guessing here. This is speculation. Don't you think she would have fought right there? In the kitchen, in the hallway? Why would he take her all the way down to her bedroom to kill her? Especially if, let's say she's there, you know, especially not knowing if there was anybody else in the bedroom. Because you would think she would call out, like, why would he take her to a space where there was another potential threat? See, this is why, another reason, I think he went straight to that room. There was a noise, there was a light. Maybe he even saw her round the corner. I don't know. But I don't think he ran into her, because I don't think he would have taken the extra time to take her to her bedroom. I think she would have fought right there. I think she would have screamed. I think she would have pounded, especially if it meant protecting Ethan. You know, certainly if it meant protecting Ethan, because not only was her life at risk, his was too. And she just seemed that kind of loyal, I don't know, that's just the type that would, like, fiercely protect and defend her friends. So why get her back to that room when it would just mean he would have a longer way to leave when the door is right there? So now I want to hear from you. Given this scenario that I just presented, do you still think he ran into Xana? Do you still think that Xana and Ethan were collateral damage? Or do you think it's possible that he went straight to their room and that Xana and he never crossed paths? I want to know what you think. Leave it in the comments.